All right, and since we are a technology program, I'm using a new technology and using it for the first time in this presentation, which is basically not ideal. But thank you, Dr. Lara, so much for assisting me with this. So before we get started, my program, the title of my program is Self-Paced Training for Technical Writers. So by a show of hands, since you haven't had any exercise in a while, how many people know exactly what I mean when I say technical writer? Ken, Mom?
Still guessing.
All right. Well, we'll say about half. So let's just go through this quickly. Technical writers explain in words and pictures how stuff works and create legendary titles such as User's Guide, Online Help. You've heard of this, perhaps? Online Help System, and whatever this is. So, full disclosure, Dr. Sue stole my thunder here a bit, but I am a technical writer, so this is a project that I developed with my own self-interest at heart. I'm going to give you a project overview now, a quick demo, and I will have questions at the end, just like everybody else. So the problem that I set out to solve is a good problem. My company has a growing product line that requires new writers. I work for Dell. Those new writers need training. The current training system requires those writers to interact with other experienced writers and engineers, which is not very efficient and not consistent. It depends on the diligence of the writer and the engineer, how good the training is. So the solution that I proposed was, again, a self-paced training system similar to some of the others that you've seen. It will be a web-based portal with links to job aids and other resources. And it also has e-learning modules with software simulations and practice. The methods and principles I used the ADDIE model. We've already heard of this. Callie did a great job of explaining that, so I don't need to. It's part of the benefit of going last. And another one that you haven't heard of perhaps today, connectivist principles. Social learning theory, proponents of that theory are George Siemens and Stephen Downes. And the things that drew me to that theory was the idea that learning is a process of connecting information sources. So it's not just internalizing information and memorizing things, committing things to memory, but being able to find information. And the other part of that, especially in the internet age, is being able to find accurate, up-to-date information. And that's the intent of connectivism, and that's what drew me to that learning theory. I did conduct usability tests. I had 15 participants. Most of them were people who worked at my company, so a couple people did get 100% on the pre-test. But I used pre-tests and post-test questionnaires to measure the learning gains during those 15 tests. And my t-test data did indicate that there was significant improvement from the pre-test to the post-test. So I proceeded with my prototype. Well, one thing that usability takeaways did show me, other than that I need to align things more carefully, there were 3 areas that I could improve: navigation, interactions, and I needed to simplify the content. It was very complex subject matter, so I needed to figure out ways to simplify it. So, as Jane, I started out with a table of contents on the left-hand side, and I found that none of my users used it, which surprised me because I thought, oh, everything needs a table of contents. Not so. So this is where you say ooh and ah. Thank you. Very nice. Nicely done. So I replaced the table of contents on the left with a navigation bar at the top. not only did that simplify the navigation, but it gave me a little more space so I could play with the more complex topics and simplify things. So where we're at right now, this portal has actually been implemented at Dell. It's available to writers now. For a summative evaluation in about 6 months' time, I'm going to use some surveys to measure the effectiveness and to get some feedback on that. And of course, the first thing my boss said was, can we add this and this and this and this and this and this? I said, of course, job security. And we do have great expectations for it. We're hoping that the job aids will improve performance and the existing team will be freed up to train new writers, or not train new writers. And the other idea is this could be a model for other companies and products, because every company has products that people need to document. Maybe not every company, but many companies. And writers need to be trained on those products and on the processes involved. So, would you like to see my project?
Sure.
Thank you. Good answer. Forgive me, I need to sit down to do this. There we go. And this is it. Marco Rubio approved. Okay, so basically I have, again, navigation at the top. Each section has an overview and menu items for writers to use to find the things that they're looking for. And just to give you an idea of this home page, these buttons are also just large ways to navigate to these overall sections here. So let me show you one of the job aids. Let me check the sound level here. Good. All right, so this is a job aid that provides instructions for creating Web Help 5 and DHTML5, which you guys don't need to know about, but writers do need to know about this. So I provide a video overview of the task.
Before you generate the help, it's a good idea to scan all documents to make sure that you have the latest.
And that goes on and on. But you can stop it at any time thanks to those helpful controls. Again, step-by-step instructions in an accordion style that lets you quickly go to the instructions that you need. And this again is a job aid that a writer might use when they're performing a task they don't do very often. In addition, I have checklists that let the writers make sure that they're completing all the tasks required in a procedure, such as SME, subject matter review. They can actually take notes on this page, add comments, and print to PDF if they want to make a record that they've done all of these things. In addition, I have links to other resources like writer's guides or the authoring guide. And finally, the e-learning modules that I've created, there's 6 of them, broken up into six sections to make it easy for people to chunk it up and go through the things that they want to find. Let's look at one of these here.
After you complete this section, you will be able to identify 4 K1000 product offerings and identify 4 user interfaces to the K1000.
So each section will have an overview similar to that. Again, the navigation at the top, some accordions for interaction to help the user or the learners understand or get to know the products that they'll be documenting. Have some rollover interactions as well so that they can understand more about the products. And this was one of my complex slides. It's still quite complex with several levels of navigation here, but users can go through each of them fairly quickly to find the information that they want. Now each section also has a practice and a review. Just basically the review is a summary of what they've learned in that section. I want to show you one more thing, and that is the quiz section. Each section has practice slides that are similar to this. This is kind of a quiz at the end, so they can test their learning. And this is the one, if they complete this, they get a certificate. Sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time. Right on. You were batting 1,000 today. All right.
Your cat took this training.
Okay, we'll get rid of that sound now. So this is an example of a matching question. And I am going to give some wrong answers here so that I can show you my nifty incorrect responses. So if a user gets that incorrect, they can try again. If they still get it incorrect, they get a little more information. They get 3 tries, and they get the whole picture, basically. So you know what? You might want to review that product overview module again. Also have some drag and drop. I'll just go ahead and use the correct answer here. And very similar interactions. There are several others, but I think that gives you a good idea of what I've got in that module. All right. Almost done. Promise. I would like to acknowledge the help of my advisor, Dr. Nancy Lockwood, in the back there. Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate your help. My manager at Dell, Radhika Kasturi-Roman. Say that now 5 times fast. Gold star. And my usability testing all-stars at Dell. They were very helpful. Also want to thank my husband, Ken. He's devil's advocate and moral support and everything else. And my mom, Barbara, who came all the way from Portland, Oregon tonight for our presentations. But she didn't sleep through our presentations. You guys did a great job. So.
Kate?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for your family.
Uh-oh.
Do you now know what she does?
It's getting warmer though.
And of course, thank you all. Appreciate your time. Is there anything else you would like to know about my project?
Yes, so this is loaded on Dell servers for
Yes.
the writers there. Does the admin have access to how the writers do on the quizzes? Is that in the database that's accessible?
That's a good question. Those quizzes are actually not reported. So there's nothing that's reported to anyone. It's mostly for the writers themselves to go through and say, what do I know? What have I learned? Good question.
Did you find that the table of contents that you originally had, like, was the exact same content that was in your drop-down menus on your website?
The top level headings were similar. I think I probably shaped them down a bit, cut them from 3 or 4 words down to 1 where I could, like concepts instead of, some very high level stuff.
To follow up on that, while you were developing this, was the table of contents useful for you, and would you have needed that to get to that final, aha, beautiful design? What do you think?
That's a really good question. I hadn't thought of that. I like tables of contents. I like to be able to go through and find specifically what I want. So it was a little bit painful to let go of that. And yes, I did use it during development very much. But I think the end result with the menuing at the top is just cleaner and a little easier for people to access.
I have a couple of questions. One was, what program did you use? But my other question is, did you propose this project to your employers and have to convince them it was a project? And what challenges did you have working in your own organization?
Oh, very good questions. Yes. So in order to create the website, I use Dreamweaver, so that's HTML5 that you're looking at there, as well as jQuery and some of those JavaScript, some of those things. The e-learning modules were created in Captivate, and as far as working with the organization and working with my boss, I hope she's listening, the most supportive boss in the world who gave me a lot of encouragement, and we're a small group. Our immediate group is about 4 people, but we're part of a much larger organization at Dell. And so we're actually trying to find ways to all work together, 100 and some people, all creating documentation for Dell. How do we do it? How do we work? How do we not duplicate efforts? How can we leverage what other people are doing? So yes, there's definitely a lot of that going on. This is kind of almost a pilot program in a way, where we can say a lot of writers have been complaining about not being able to find information. You know, I can't find the latest on this or the latest on that, or I forget I have to go to this website and that website and over here. And again, back to the connectivist principles. Finding information is a real challenge. So I think there's just a lot of support in the organization, and my manager was great. So there was no resistance there at all.
Thank you, Kate.